behind enemy lines. It's not safe here. It's not safe. Seriously, coming to you from the Bay Area, and boy oh boy, it's getting shitty. Hey guys and gals, man, I can't dwell on negative things all the time. I just can't do it. So, I don't make videos as often as I'd like to. But, this week in particular, just a lot of things have been kind of hitting me all at once that have just kind of compiled and made me realize that I gotta say something. There's so many things I want to say, but I've got to say something about the war on men. White men. There is a cultural war to put the white man down. And white women, and for some magical reason, are exempt, of course, because they're women. But, I cannot even tell you the Facebook feeds, Facebook posts I have seen this week alone, and how I am so tempted to post something like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, you racist piece of shit?" But then I look at the comments, and I realize all of them are like, "Oh yeah, the patriarchy's to blame." I'm going to try to find some of these stupid freaking posts and show you. There's a lot of them, and I don't have time to find them all. I really don't. But it's just more and more like, I can't say anything, even though I know I'm right. Like a lot of what I'm talking about is people posting things like, since when did all white males become douchebags? Question mark. And all of these white guys and white women say stuff like, since the patriarchy, or since the beginning of time, or like, since they were like demon spawn. It's just like, really? Like, what the fuck? On this TV over here, I was just actually watching the beginning of a movie. I'm just gonna go ahead and play it in the background, but it's called The Disappointment Room. It's on Netflix currently. But it seems more and more like you can't escape the war on men. In this movie, there's a scene where this douchebag of a white guy who has a totally hot wife, of course, hot blonde wife that's in great shape, and they have a kid, and they move into this giant mansion, and then they go to meet the townsfolk, and this woman's all like, "Oh, there's a lot of good guys in town. If you need help cleaning the place up, I know it's the dump basically, because they basically are buying this old mansion in the middle of the woods." And the guy says, "Oh, I don't think that'll be necessary. We think we have it covered." And the lady's like, "Oh, well, you better be an architect if you want to, be able to handle that." And he's like, "In a matter of fact," and the woman assumes, "Oh, you're an architect." And then the wife is like, "No, I'm an architect." And he's like, "Yeah, she's the architect." And then the townsfolk woman's like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And he's like, "Oh, I watch her work." And it's just like, he's a douchebag, doesn't work, they just bought a giant house, they have a kid. Like, this is the imaginary world of the SJW that they want you to believe exists. That a woman can take 6 months off, basically, hit the ground running again, and be able to raise a child with a douchebag husband. Like, no. Like, the way in the past that nuclear families were able to exist was a man that worked a lot, had a job like being an architect, was able to work a lot because they had a supportive spouse at home taking care of the children and such. Now, if she was really going to be an architect and be successful, he would need to be a supportive spouse and take care of their son. But they paint it like, "Oh no, this woman does it all." But, this is just one example. But the thing is, it's one example of many, of hundreds. Just today, like, when I turn on Netflix these days, it immediately starts playing whatever they want you to watch. Like, literally, I don't know if that's only my device. I have some random Blu-ray player device that also plays a bunch of other platforms, but yeah, Netflix just randomly plays random crap, and today it also just randomly turned on Dear White People. So you see where this is going. I mean, it just doesn't stop. There's a constant bombardment right now of this propaganda, and it is propaganda. Don't fool yourself. Don't be stupid enough to believe that this is all real. You know, the current trends in society are just insane. That you have people on CNN even entertaining someone that will defend 3 black youths, I think they're 16, 17, and 17-year-olds, beating up a white male handicapped kid. They're defending it as if it's not a big deal, as if it's okay. Where you have to understand that if that happened the other way around, those kids would not just go to juvie for a year or two and be let out and given a second try. No, those people would be held, and they would be held over, especially the males. The black male or the white males in this incident would be held over in prison well into their adulthood. Okay, double standards are everywhere right now. Facebook posts. I mean, the toxic. The fact that these people truly believe this shit is so terrifying to me right now. Like, people need to start speaking out and say, whoa, stop making fucking shit up. Like, literally, like, the one group of people on Earth that people don't have a problem with shitting on right now, white males. You know, what propaganda is for, what it's historically always been used for, historically, it's for making war possible. How do you mean? By demonizing your enemy. It's very hard to get people to want to risk their lives to go kill other people unless those people are already deemed as inhuman. I'm sorry, as inhuman. Seriously, I mean, if the other group of people are not deemed as human, you can shit on them all day and morally you can feel okay. The reason why this is okay is because my generation is a bunch of cucks and weak fucking pieces of shit. Okay? Seriously. Like, I'm calling you out. You're weak. And the other problem is this, is I will take some of that blame. I am too scared to post on every Facebook post about this kind of bullshit that is happening all the fucking time in the Bay Area. From people I know, friends even. I mean, obviously they're friends, they're Facebook friends that are posting this shit. And I don't know when it happened that someday something clicked and all society was like, fuck white men. I don't know. I really do not know when that happened. But there's clearly been some kind of turning point because my friends that are conservative, they don't post that much. Like they don't want. They live in a hostile territory. We live behind enemy lines right here. You know, we cannot make our opinions too well known because if you do, you'll lose a lot of friends, literally. And I don't know. You know, that's the scary thing is that we don't know what these people are willing to do. It's getting out of hand, though, for sure. I mean, without a doubt, it's getting scary in the Bay Area to be a conservative. Yes, I went to San Francisco State University, one of the most liberal schools in the world. I went there thinking that, knowing that I could go there and I could more easily understand leftist beliefs because of how biased and stupid and unfounded they are. And I did do that. The thing is, I had to learn the hard way through some professors just flunking me, basically, or flunking essays in English classes, for example. Like, I wrote one huge research paper on gun control and how, statistically speaking, if you extrapolate information from statistics, you can know without a shadow of doubt that taking all the guns away in either the UK or Australia, other countries, other government regimes like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany, atrocities and terrible violations of just basic human rights were committed. And where guns were found to be, like in Switzerland, where everyone's got some military experience, crime was very low. Take Russia, for example, actually. Russia, if you don't already notice, I have some expertise in Russia because I've lived there. I've been studying Russia ever since their what they started doing in Crimea years ago. I wrote papers on it when I was in college, and I've just been studying that whole situation with Crimea and the Ukraine. Anyways, in Russia, they don't, like, private citizens. It is very, very, very difficult. Like, not like America at all. It is very difficult to get a gun at all. And if you are going to get a gun, it's going to be like for hunting purposes only, and you probably have to live out in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, you can have a gun. The thing is, like 95% of the population don't get them because that country is quite literally ruled by an oligarchy or dictatorship. But Vladimir Putin's anti-globalist, so I don't disapprove. Nonetheless, they have a lot of crime. They have a huge amount of crime because all their males, not females, are required to do military service for not 1 but 2 years. So they're both basically all pretty hardened, and they're more willing to resort to physical violence to solve their problems than any other civilization I've ever come across, personally. But that just, is just proving my point. I don't want to dwell anymore on me having to learn the hard way about SF State, but SF State is that school known where cultural appropriation is basically okay. Meaning, let me show you this clip.
You're saying that I can't have a hairstyle because of your culture? Why?
Because it's my culture. Do you know what box means?
Do you know it was an Egyptian culture? Are you Egyptian? Nah, bro, you're not.
Are you Egyptian? Are you Egyptian?
No, but it doesn't matter.
Wait, where's Egypt? Tell me.
You know what, girl?
Where's Egypt?
Dude, go. You have no right to tell me what I can wear. Huh?
Where's Egypt?
Yo, girl, stop touching me right now.
Yo, girl, stop touching me right now. Come back.
Get off of me.
Come back, come back, come back. You put your hands on me, no more.
Like, you don't make some shit because of what the hair I have? That's no reason, yo. I don't need your disrespect. I don't need your disrespect.
Why are you filming this?
Just for everyone's safety.
Yeah, so that happened at my school. And that actually happened the year I graduated. But the semester after I'd graduated. And it's funny and sad because the school is very, tries to seem very culturally diverse, and that's our strength and this and that. The thing is, when you cram all these people together, you know what I noticed, and I talked about it, and people didn't really want to seem to hear about it, was that when you cram all these people together, believe it or not, it's more often than not the white people that are willing to go into any group or club and intermingle. And it's not allowed for white people to have a club. That's not allowed. That's racist. That's not cool. It's not cool. And yet, every single race around the world was allowed to have their very own club. That's right. So there's, the African American Studies Club. I forget all the legitimate names, but the Latino or the Latin American Club, and the Filipino and the Chinese, and like literally it got pretty nitpicky down to even the very country sometimes. Not really so much with African Americans, obviously, because there just wasn't enough African students from actual African countries, but Asia and African American students in particular all had their own specific clubs, and those clubs were almost always 99.9%, meaning like 100% that ethnicity, and they could although it was very on the DL because they know it wouldn't be cool, they did make sure that you can't just join any club you want, because those clubs are supposed to be safe spaces for those people of that ethnicity to talk about their problems. Thing is it not obvious? Are you too blind and stupid to see that white people have a serious problem, particularly white males? They have a lot of problems. Okay. This brings in the podcast that I highly recommend you watch. I'll drop the link for you to watch it, but it's one of the newest Joe Rogan podcasts where they talk about basically men's problems. Is it really just not obvious that especially white men have a super huge problem right now, and yet it's not okay to talk about it? So basically, this newest Joe Rogan podcast, I'm going to actually play a clip for you just so you get an idea of where I'm coming from right now. Something I'm going to talk about for a minute here. So I've got it right here, ready to go for you. There we go.
Despair and lonely. Those are two really.
So that's the other word that they're using is loneliness. They're now measuring it, and loneliness is as or worse of a health issue in our country than smoking, heavily smoking. There's all this. There's this new
loneliness
isn't
overpopulation coincided with loneliness at the same time.
That. We're thrust further and further closer together, and
we don't know each other,
and we're more and more disconnected and lonely. Yeah. And it's literally, so there's a whole new, I don't know how new, but it's called interpersonal neurobiology, which is the science of our brain wiring and physiological wiring on how we're, this is one of the articles.
Loneliness might be a bigger health risk than smoking or obesity. Whoa. That's...
Okay, so now you know what I'm talking about. So, I haven't finished it, but just last night I started watching the documentary that apparently isn't that new, but it's called the Red Pill movie. Documentary made by a feminist, and she was looking to see just how bad these men's rights activists, MRAs, they're called MRAs, men's rights activists. She was initially starting a documentary thinking she was going to go find out who they were, what they were really trying to say, and see if they were really as bad as people thought they were, because people keep labeling them like white nationalist Nazis and shit like that, and it's like, whoa. Who are these people, right? Then she goes down the rabbit hole and gets red pilled. Just like anyone with a brain that's actually willing to open their mind to actual facts and what other people on the other side of the alley are actually saying. So, basically, I mean, the point is, there's a war on men. A real war. And it's to put, particularly right now, the goal is to put white men down. Now, if I'm going to be blunt and honest, they've already succeeded at that with African American men. Okay, so if you are willing to spend hours and hours of time researching what African American women think is wrong with their culture in America, African American culture, they say there's not enough men. Where are the men? They're in prison. Now that is because there are evil people like Hillary Clinton in office. Side note, I didn't want to hijack this video with my rants on Hillary Clinton, but if you still would have voted for Hillary Clinton, you're so dumb. You're so freaking stupid. Don't you realize she's a neo-Nazi, basically? She loved Margaret Sanger, who, called black people weeds. She was a Nazi. She loved Senator, what was his name? Senator Robert Byrd, that's right. Senator Robert Byrd was an actual KKK branch founder, okay? She called him her mentor, okay? And on top of all that, one of her biggest supporters and funders and mentors was George Soros, basically a Hitler Youth, even though he was a Jew. Now, you're not red-pilled. If you're watching this, you're probably not red-pilled enough to know that not all Jews were exactly subject to poor treatment by the Nazis. The Zionist Jews were given positions of Sonderkommandos and basically put in charge of working the camps. Nonetheless, I digress, literally. Why are you people so stupid? Please, if you still would have voted for her, you need to red pill yourself more. Watch all of my videos, because I've got some crazy content that you're probably not ready for. Anyway, I digress. This war on white men is trying to destroy America. Okay, so at this point, we've destroyed African American communities, and all you have to do really is super empower females of any culture, and that culture will fall apart. And I didn't believe this because I'm a little bit, I used to be kind of an equity feminist in my own way. But if you super empower women, the problem is they do not have the gene that makes them want to self-preserve their culture. And so whatever they deem to be the strongest, they inherently, now this is some kind of, macro science here that we're talking about, and it's not necessarily founded on well-founded statistics, but there's a lot of people out there that I've listened to who do think that it's the one thing that men will always be able to offer is protection of an identity and culture. And if you put the men down, you allow that to be destroyed, basically, because women will be willing to sell out to anyone that they see as better, basically. So currently, by putting the white male down, you're definitely propagating the idea that white females should stop marrying white males, find anything else, and the virtue signaling SJWs will give you mad props. You basically are getting kudos for going against your own race. But can't you see these things are interconnected? They affect each other. If you can somehow subvert culture, it'll lead to more loneliness of that culture, which I was talking about earlier with the Joe Rogan podcast, and more suicide. And overnight, maybe in less than a decade, you can basically make an entire group of people kind of defunct. I don't want to make this video too long, guys. I really don't. But is it not obvious? Is all of this not obvious? It should be obvious. I highly recommend you guys watch the Red Pill video. It's well done. I'm not done watching it, so I'm not going to make a review just yet, but I will say it's probably going to be like a 9.5 out of 10. I'm a little bit of a cinephile myself, so I almost never give actual 10s unless it's an X-Men movie directed by Bryan Singer, who sadly is a pedophile, by the way. I'm red-pilled enough and unbiased enough that I'll call it as it is. Anyways, I digress. Guys, the war on men needs to be, if you're a white male watching this, you need to start opening your mouth. I know it's uncomfortable, but it's getting to the point where I do believe in Antifa-type situations where there's riots. They're going to be targeting white males and trying to make an example out of them sooner or later. And they're going to use, I don't know, hopefully not lethal force, but some kind of, they're going to start hurting them to make an example. Because if they can scare white males out of not going to these free speech if they can scare white males out of not going to these free speech demonstrations or speeches by great people, Milo and many others included, it will be a very sad day. And in closing, I just want to say my conclusion is if they can truly destroy the identity of the white male and make every white male like this freaking cuck who doesn't have a job and watches his wife work, which again is unrealistic. In the real world, you have to have, if you're going to have a breadwinner, male or female, the other person has to support them in many ways to make life work. You can't have a parasite and someone be a breadwinner. It just doesn't doesn't work. There's not enough time in the day. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. You need to start fighting back. And if you're a female or any other race, like, can you seriously not see the racism in this? I mean, it's everywhere right now. Like, I shouldn't have to point it out, but I mean, 4 out of 5 suicides are males. And obviously, if you do digging, I mean, the majority of males in this country are still white, so at the moment at least. So yeah, this is so sad, guys. I was gonna let you go, but I just can't without showing you how they're destroying us. But they've already destroyed the American Indian. They did a long time ago, and they just kept, I don't know what they've done. I mean, I wish they're the only ones that outdo whites, and it's been on the rise for a long time, guys. There's suicide rates, just to make sure you understand. Suicide rates have been on the rise amongst white people, and again, by gender, it's vastly males that commit suicide. So apparently loneliness is more dangerous to your health than smoking cigarettes, okay? Suicide's a big deal for me, by the way, guys. I actually walk for the American, the Out of Darkness Foundation, which just wants to bring to light the fact that suicide's a real deal. I'm a very, very happy person myself, actually, but when I was younger, I went through a depression spell that lasted about 2 years, and I did have a serious problem with depression and suicide, and actually made some attempts. I don't want to get into that too much right now. This video has run on long enough, but guys, at some point we need to have an open and honest discussion about what the hell is going on in this country and how propaganda is taking over the minds of everyone who's stupid. And there's too many stupid. Idiocracy, the movie, is now a documentary, apparently, according to me anyway. Again, guys, my name's Tyler Warden, and I am here to warn you about the future and to elevate your consciousness to another level. I want to red pill you, red pill your friends. Please share this video if you think it just hits home on anything about the fact that this has gone on way too far. It's out of control, and you hitting on a gender and a race at the same time, not being racist, not being sexist, doesn't make any goddamn sense, and you're out of your mind if you think it does. The problem with so many SJWs is they have these crazy dichotomies of thought where they believe that you can be a fairy and yet believe in reality at the same time, or that you can't be born a gender even though gender has a very strict definition. If you want to talk about your orientation or your beliefs of what you should have been born as, that's a different thing. You can believe you should have been born something else, but you were born a gender. Okay, guys, I'm really good at rambling. I'll let you go. Please give me a like if you liked some of what I said. Please drop me a comment on things that you'd like me to talk about and share my 2 cents. And if you'd like to chat with me sometime, leave me a comment and I'll find a way to talk to you. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a good night.
I'm just getting warmed up. This is Von Clausewitz shit. Total fucking war. I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.